does, right? Because I think that that's what it is. It's my guess. Okay, I have 8 high. So you can see, compared to the way that we started this tournament, you know, so it's just not that, I can't even continue here with 5 high. So full, 4. So you can see how boring the poker actually is. That, you know, there's just nothing going on. You can't really force it. We're not low enough that we are put in a position where we have to force it, so we just fold. I think this is probably, okay, so now we have a pair. This is not a great pair, but our competition here is not with many chips. This person, however, does. I'm going to raise and see if we can push him out and see what happens. You know, I'm here close to this end point, so again, this has to do with optionality. The optionality meaning, you know, the flexibility to react upon what other people do first. So this is a pretty bad flop. We have to presume that these persons who have less chips are in here with high cards. And between the two of them, one has an ace or a king or spades. So we fold. It's not to see, you know, we don't really, you know, we got this like whole thing about, oh, well, you're right X% of the time or wrong Y% of the time, which is true. I'm not saying that, you know, those things aren't, you know, correct or incorrect, but that's for the players who are playing like, you know, thousands and thousands of hands. You know, thousands and thousands of hands that are right and wrong X or Y%, 100 minus X% of the time. You know, and then they work backwards to the implied, you know, risk-neutral price. That is no different. That is no different than the way that, you know, an option works from financial markets, which is you know, a call option on, you know, Apple at 106 with the strike price of 160. You're trying to, you know, the market is setting a price which evaluates and assigns an implied probability that the stock will be at 160 by a particular date. And in that, there's the direct link, absolutely the direct link here, which is, you know, we just happen to be using chips. We just happen to be using chips, but what we are ultimately evaluating is ultimately evaluating our probability of winning a particular hand and what the payout will be if that were to occur. Well, we have that in financial markets. We have it, and we've got a singular construct. We have a singular formula to actually calculate this, right? It's not, this is not anything at all which is a mystery. Right? There are many experts in this field whose sole job is to kind of think through the probabilities of, you know, Apple reaching 160 and then assigning a price. But this is what option traders do. So I'm trying to show you somewhere on my computer. I'm sure of it. Well, I know this is because, you know, when I'm explaining to other persons, you know, and here we're getting straight into it. Given the fact that I've just described this idea about, you know, the price of the pot or the price of these bets and the amount of payout here compared to their cards that they have. So all the players are trying to evaluate the probability of winning and then what the payout is if they end up winning. And they're trying to get the optimal amount. So now you can easily attach that to, you know, again, the option at Apple at 160, right? Someone has an idea about what the price will be later. And there are instruments that trade, and they have an agreed upon market clearing price. I hate to tell you this, but if you watch the other channels and they're showing you the tournaments and stuff like that, they're all doing the same, this same type of thing, or, you know, except for they're better than I am, of course. You know, nothing but a check here. You know, we can't really continue. Worse, notably worse. We'll get to where we are going, and let's get a refresh here. You know, we can't really. So now we were just, you know, we were in 20th place after hitting all those hands at the very beginning of the stream, but you can see now, you know, erodes. Because for every hand that passes by, you have to pay a couple chips that go into here called the ante. And you get this erosion, right? You're long a bunch of options. One of the elements against you is time. You don't get to have time pass without, you know, and be neutral. So, you know, this is every bit a financial option. Right, the element of every financial calculation, no exceptions, is the element of time. Now, it just so happens that to make this seem less interesting to people is the fact that, okay, I'm going to have to raise here. The hand's too strong. I need some people out. To think about what happens here. It's snap checked. About 50-50 here. Tens the nuts. Little tight there. It's certainly call, you know, I've not done well after the flop, as you can see. So what's happening is the number of chips here, you could see it was me and this person largely in the lead, and now, you know, these two people have caught up to me, certainly 3 people have caught up, so now I'm just somewhere in the middle. There's a fault. Still a fault. Okay, I'm distracted because I'm getting emails and stuff like that, which is like nuts. It's kind of a problem when you're trying to... So why, you can certainly ask why the stream, and that's fair, right? I could have done this without sharing it with you, like at all, and that could have been the case. The real reason is kind of because over here, you're going to see it, quite clearly, quite obviously. So this is a formula here, which is the Black-Scholes formula. This is that call option on Apple, right? Which looks, very complicated. It is, to some degree. It is complicated. But it stops being complicated when you see this ND1 here. You see I'm putting the mouse over or the pointer over ND1. Maybe I am. Yeah, I think I am. Over ND1. Literally, and no exaggeration, right? That is only, all that is this. ND1 is just the standard normal distribution. So now you can understand how it's similar to poker, right? Because we had discussed earlier in the stream that when people are, the poker professionals are out there and saying we should do this, we should do that, they're considering combinations. Now, I don't think he has a king because he would have tried to protect the king given... All right, so now I'm probably wrong. Okay. I didn't think he had a king because there were 2 hearts. So if he had an offsuit king, can't have a king of hearts, king of hearts was on the board, that he would try to bet a little bit to try to push me off and try to win the pot. But he didn't, which could have just been him being, trying to conceal his true intent. But that was a risk I had to take at that moment. Nothing too dramatic. He could have easily bluffed the ace at the end. So anyway, if we go back over here, basically what's happening is when people are they're telling me that dropouts exist and all that kind of good stuff, so I have to blow away some of this stuff. That's not good. Outlook, you gotta go. I see. This guy, you definitely have to go. Should do it. We should be okay for now. Okay, so I'm going to say that, we're almost certainly having to be a bit more aggressive here. So, depending on what the professionals say, they may say, okay, well, you need to run a balanced strategy, meaning that you can remember at the earlier part of this, I flopped 3 of a kind when the other person had ace king. There's this idea of balanced strategy, meaning that sometimes that you're trying to hide super strong ace king with a bet which isn't that aggressive, right? He had ace king, 2.2 big blinds is what he led, which wasn't worth very much. Now I'm in position here. I could have an ace. It's unlikely that somebody called with a 2. It's likely that somebody has called with an ace. I'm going to bet, and I'm going to bet bigger than what other people would normally think. I'm going to find out real quick here if someone's got a king. So that person had to fold, right, because they can't afford to lose 3.8. So that basically, the flip side is that's the point of poker, right, which is that my tax rate was too high for this person. So unless they almost for sure had an ace or a deuce, I forced them to fold, therefore making the payout structure for this person to not be favorable, right? If I made the bet at a certain number, that person calls. Now this person's the implied odds, meaning the amount of payment to call versus the possible payout, all of a sudden changes the cost payout ratio. To a poker player, the experienced poker player, they're rolling their eyes right now because that is second nature. To the person who never has played poker, they're not thinking in these terms. To a person who, after saying it out loud, they kind of shrug their shoulders and say, well, that's obvious. And that's kind of the point, right? Which is crazy people write books about certain topics, which are really about your rights and options and the implied payout at that price for situations. Literally, that's it. Medigap, Medicare Advantage, these things that you see, Jimmy Walker commercials on, which I'll have a video in my commentary on all of the things that are not exactly right, have to do with the fact that under Medicare, for example, you have certain rights and options. And if you don't know them, okay, so this is like a crazy thing. I've flopped the best possible hand. I almost can't be beaten. So we're going to let him bet. We're pretty close. We're going to want to have, so I want him to have 2 diamonds, and we have all this stuff. So this is a bad card, because now I'm going to bet, and he's going to fold, because he doesn't have a 4. If he's got a 4 and an ace, I'm going to get all his chips, but he has neither of them, so he has to fold. Or 2 diamonds. So obviously a bit better here. I'm going to... We'll have to see. I'm going to be raising whoever's going to be betting here. If we get a bet, I'm definitely raising. This person's got to be out. All right, so we need to make this fairly painful, because these other persons... So I can go out on this, right? I mean, I can lose here. We got 1. Okay, it's not likely now. So he better have jacks or 2 spades. If he doesn't, we're going to end up keep betting and see what happens. Okay. So can't really be that afraid of spades. I could be afraid that he has another spade. You know, you could easily say that, well, that's just the risk of the game, right? Obviously the best starting hand possible. I raised, and didn't expect, someone in such a position. Okay, so we're being put to the test here. So these persons can push. Okay, this just call is interesting. I'm not sure why this person just. I'm going to check. Okay. No one had a king. Kings would obviously call me in 2 seconds. So 174 people left, 330? So about half the field is gone. You can tell, how slow this is. It is not like a activity that you're going to oh, well, in 2 hours, you were going to, turn $215 into $11,000. That's not going to happen. Not very glamorous. So that you can see right here was, this person went all in, so he's now, at risk. He or she, can't be sexist about this. I'd be 90% right, or, higher than 90%. It's fine. Where did our young lady go? Where did our young lady go? Okay. I think Danielle entered her name into some kind of NPR. I'd seen her name somewhere, I don't know, just in surfing or something like that. Follow music, to some degree. Oh, thank goodness. I need a break. I need a break. All right, so let's just see what we're going to do here. Because, that would obviously, damage our chances, tremendously. The top 56 people get paid. The minimum payment is $327.83. The top prize is $12,800. So again, this is, for 215 to that number is a big number, obviously. So this is why people play tournaments. Then again, the probability of winning is not great, right? 1 out of 300, is not obviously, very good. And then also that's assuming pure randomness, which, this is not going to be, right? Meaning that the best players are going to ultimately rise to the top unless some crazy amount of randomness starts hitting, which is possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but, you know, and that's where you see dreams, you know, you saw like, that's the popularity of this game relative to chess, for example, right? You know, the idea that I would ever beat a chess player in a single game, you know, is, that's like, you know, zero. Right. I mean, they would have to make such a blatant error. They'd have to make an error that, you know, they've not made for, you know, decades. Unless, you know, the grandmaster is 9 years old, of course, then maybe, you know, to them, in the time continuum, maybe, maybe they've only been playing for 3 years or something, 5 years, certainly probably before they could read. And then in which case, you know, still, again, you know, the chance of winning is almost nothing when it comes to trying to play chess against the grandmaster. And that's kind of the allure of this game, right? Which is that, you know, the barrier to entry here is as democratic as it gets. So these persons don't, you know, are going to be playing carefully against each other. Very carefully against each other, because one of the three of them, if they got into too big a pot, you will have a problem. One of them could have had a problem. We're not going to get there, I don't think. But yeah. Yeah. So you can see it. And their behavior, right, because they're not willing to put the risk where a huge percentage of their stack can go in, because that would damage their chances for the payout. So, you know, poker is interesting in exercise from understanding how people make decisions. Now, I'm going to have a big decision here. You know, obviously very, very big, good hand. We're hoping that one of these small guys throws all their chips in. That did not happen between these two people over here. You know, very likely that they're not folding. Well, obviously not going to fold. This person I'm going to end up trying to have to push out. This person weirdly folded. So I'm actually going to be betting quite a bit, you know, compared to where we are going here. If this person happens to have a pair and aggressive, we're going to end up calling. Okay, so now I'm only aware of only a problem with clubs. I'm going to bet small. Now, you know, there's risk here. You know, I could lose, but I'm going to end up having to call. So we'll have to see what happens. Okay, so, yep. You know, and that's the randomness of the game, certainly. You know, he had best pair and a big second card, but I had the absolute biggest second card. So I was afraid of ace 3. A6, not very likely to call my ace, you know, my large pre-flop bet. Here, you know, I have the best pair and the best kicker, obviously, but I still have to be careful because I am not in a good position. I am first to act, and if one of these guys raises, they could have randomly gotten, you know, Jack 4, or more likely, they could randomly have 2 hearts. And in which case, I am in a fair amount of trouble. Now, against 4 big blinds, I'm not as in big a trouble here. And so now I'm going to probably lead. Let's just see here. Okay, so we're going to call. So, not particularly difficult. there, right? Because I have the best pair, I have the best kicker. I'm going nowhere in that instance. I've been moved tables, so something's going to get screwed up, I'm pretty sure. We'll have to see. Of course, I don't know what I'm doing here on this streaming thing. So that's an issue. We'll try to get together in a few moments. You'll bear with me because I don't know what I'm doing on streaming. Like whatsoever. Like not at all. I'm going to fold a6 against all in. So nothing too complicated, no real, the poker players like to call it, oh, this is a sweat or whatever. Nothing too controversial here since the very beginning of the stream when that ace came out on the turn and I had to pair and then made a flush at the end. So I could have lost to a bigger flush. I could have lost to a full house, but not likely. Let's see here. Let's see if I know how to. I'm trying to figure out how to. Blah blah blah. I don't need that. So let's remove. These other things here. What's this window? Where's my seat? There's a clear fold. All right. So I have no idea of what I'm doing, of course, so this is kind of the issue. I have literally no idea of how to. I think this does it. There we go. Fold this, which is a tight fold. Hindsight 2010, I'm happy to fold, even though seven could have been good, but not against 49 and 47 big blinds, too damaging if I lose. Oh, and a person who can't really give, they just can't. So bad. And the reason it's bad is because I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to streaming, like at all. So what ends up happening is, you're trying to have these like windows and I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know, the people who actually do this. Online series, I think this is it. Yep. We're back. All right. what's happening here. This lobby. Nobody cares. It's going to be interesting to see, because I had to get Danielle's permission to play the music. You can't just sit out there and just hijack someone's music and put it out here. But just to support a new young person, Danielle Durek. Like I said, she's the real deal. Person in her 20s, new client out of Arizona, Scottsdale. Which is kind of a very, very good place for clients, for, ourselves. Very expensive cost of living, stuff like that. Okay, so the one thing is that, I have to learn who these new people are. I've been moved tables. I think, this person over here, was at the prior table. I'm going to fold. I'm going to need to observe people for a bit here. Which is a normal course of operation, just to see what people are trying to do, and who's trying to just go nuts here. So obviously much better now. We're in 16th place, which is better than I would have expected. Of course, helps to have, the best hands, two big hands in a row. We put one person out to almost double our amount, and then a person with smaller amount of chips also, had that person beat. They didn't have any choice. And in that way, again, you're talking about payout versus cost. You absolutely are talking about payout versus cost. Right? And so, again, we're back to my topics on, this book that I've written. Right? I mean, you're 900 pounds and you have 90 units of insulin a day. You need access to home runs. You do. You almost irrespective of the cost. Almost, Jabba the Hutt is price insensitive. Why? Because his probability of getting benefits is so high that the cost, even if it seemed exuberant, aren't. Very simple. And, again, I use this analogy on a poker stream, and, everybody immediately understands it. Immediately. The thing here is the following, is that so nothing I said here on the stream is any news to anyone who is intermediate poker player at best, right? Nothing, not a single thing. So you would have thought that person would be able to simply port over their information from over there to over here, which happens to be this is a spot I can call, but I hate the small blind. So I fold. And my behavior is going to change too here, and I'm going to explain that. So what's happening here is that, so you would have thought, for example, that there's no way that the intermediate poker player gets anything that I said about Jabba the Hutt wrong. Right? No chance. You'd be shocked. I promise you here. So, for example, August 15th, 2 days ago, what passed by was a free look option to see if health insurance can be $0. So the reason, I have all the time in the world for Daniel Durek here is because she's not a financial person, as far as I know. She's a musician. When she understood what the cash flow and the possible payouts are, and her insurance was, way under $100 a month, that at that price, the payout, now reasonable. Nevertheless, somehow there are still, 15 million people with no health insurance who are not on Medicaid. They all did not check this out. I promise you. Here's the trick. Here's one thing of poker is it's hard to get this out of your mind, right? I've got the nuts here, 3-5, yeah. I have the winner, but there's still no situation that I'm calling this hand before the flop. Just not. And in the same way, in financial situations, again, right? Something didn't turn out exactly as you hoped for on the prior instance. It is hard. It takes discipline to say, yeah, that was the outcome. That's this whole thing of, these messages I tell people, right? Monday morning quarterbacking, hindsight is 20/10, et cetera, et cetera. Right? You'd be shocked. And in fact, I'm going to show it to you. Show it to you after this hand here. That can't be it. All right. Oof. Wow. Randomness involved. Crushed. Randomness involved. Even when everything in your favor, randomness is still involved. I'm surfing on another screen to pull up something poker related, and you'll understand the point when I get to it. Yeah, here we go. What's happening here? Crappy hand, but we'll have to see if this person wants to engage. I could certainly shove him off this hand, right? But I'm going to choose not to. Let's just see. Okay, so, this is almost like immediate fold. Check here. I don't know why I didn't bet. Oh, I missed the time. Ugh. That was a screw up. Yeah, I have to give up. We'll get to where we're going in a moment. So I'm going to give up. Yeah. You know, I should have, you know, if what happened is I misclicked, meaning that I didn't hit the bet in time. So I wasted 1.9 blinds there, which is kind of a dumb. So I'm just going to fold here. So over here, I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so now we got a spot again. So we'll have to see here on whether the small blind is going to call my raise, which I'm almost certainly going to raise. I'm going to go all in against this guy, obviously. We've got to be fairly forceful against the small blind. Yeah. I don't want to call here, to be candid. I'm going to be run down. Right. And so now we got an issue. So, you know, you could certainly have a 10 here. Yeah, we're in trouble. This is a check and see if we can, you know, get an ace or a king here, and we'll see. Nope. No bueno. So, you know, we can certainly bluff him off this hand. But he can sit with, let me call bet off his. That's not good. He's going to call. That's my guess. Maybe he's looking at his statistics and his, I don't know what he's going to find out if he, I don't know, you know, there are all these tools called, and I don't even know what it stands for. What does HUD stand for? Yeah, God damn it. That stinks. That was somewhat painful. It's a good call by him. Not sure if that was the right call by him or not. Well, it's the right call by him because it went his way. It's okay, it's going to happen. I'd rather it didn't. Let's see if we can get this and show this to you. This is really one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Ah, crap, I gotta concentrate here. So those who don't know, you know, Landon Tice and, you know, this person here, Bill Perkins, they played in a heads-up match, and they play for a bunch of money, blah, blah, blah. Check. Give up here. We're in early position. We need heads up here. It's a big bet. Or if I go down here, then you know, you go down, so that's fine. Need to stop the bleeding. And in that situation, there's your perfect example of, you know, poker pro versus, you know, guy who doesn't know what the hell they're doing, right? Which is that I'm sure on the grids or whatever it is that, you know, optimizers, solvers, et cetera, they would have found that to be an excessively high raise. I get it. So again, this is that thing where somebody's going to say, oh, well, you know, only a poker pro can understand like the theory behind what something is somebody's doing. It just is not as, and in financial matters as well, your common sense and logic can dictate, is depending, and it can be from whatever walk of life. It really does not have to be from, you know, financial markets, or you know something about insurance or this or that or the other. Anyway, let's get back to this. So this video here, you remember I was telling you that, you know, it seems obvious, you know, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that in poker, and simply, you know, that I had compared it to these other payout structures and other financial instruments. I showed you a formula and a lattice, all that kind of stuff, right? Which all look fancy, and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. You know, I don't have time to. I should probably be paying more attention. I didn't want to call that because somebody's leading straight after the blinds to that degree, meaning very likely a very good hand. Ace-9 is okay, certainly, but I'm not that interested. Half a blind, you know, I'm going to call, but I'm not going to be excited here. I'm not obviously very unexcited here. Completely out of position. Still a check. First person to bet, which isn't going to be me. Still not here. I was hoping for a 9. A 9 would have been fine. King high winning, out of position. Pass. This person can't really bet unless they got something. They've got to try to take this down, right? 7 big blinds. We got to fold. So they got a 6. They're going to bet a 6. So, yeah. Ace-6 offsuit, something like that. They still bet. So let's go back here. This guy, so you would have thought a poker pro would have understood the payout structure and the odds. How this poker, and if you've ever listened to this person, Landon Tice, he's the one on the left there, right? He can't even drink. He's a pro. You know, if you look around and click around on the internet, you'll find him. And you can actually even hear him talk through hands on something called Solve for Y. And this is Matt Berkey's website. Shout out to them. You know, I'm not affiliated with them. You know, high quality stuff there. It cannot be faked. No possible way that information is coming off this Landon Tice's head on analysis of his hands off the top of his head, you know, and fake it. This is not happening. So what ended up happening here, however, is the structure of the wager he made against this businessman were very negative against him. And literally, when I heard what the terms and conditions actually were, he ended up giving up enormous parts of this, right? He ended up giving up lots of stuff here. I'm going to fold. The point of that, you know, and I made a long video about this, is like, right, you're a pro. If this stuff out here starts happening in either end on random exercises, that's when a pro wins, right? That's when the expert wins. It doesn't matter what the topic. Does it even matter? No, I mean, yeah, you could say in general that you're a good athlete, but if that person's a specialist in a particular sport, you got a problem, you're not going to win. Okay, here, we've got it. All right, we're going to be back to balance, I think, here. I'm not overly enamored. Of course, you know, Jacks is a double-edged sword. The big stack sits at the button, who's probably not going to be pushed off. So unless I bet huge, he's okay. So now, however, different. So he's called the big blind for 1.2 blinds. He could have an ace. He can have a bigger spade. He's going to have me on an ace. Didn't have an ace, he didn't have a spade. I breathe a sigh of relief. I don't have to face further tests. Early position, no good. Okay, so, you know, back to Landon Tice. So he spotted him 9 big blinds out of 100. Okay, so these guys would have been able to tell if you downloaded all his hands, that, which is completely possible, and analyze all the hands the way that he plays, and put it up against the simulation against himself, whether or not 9 was fair, right? Whatever that estimate of difference is, let's say you're better than me by X percent, there would have been able to have an estimate. But the issue here is if you just take a look at the lattice, what he gave away. So what ended up happening is, you can see my mouse here, right? They started out here at even, and then Bill Perkins, the businessman, started to outperform. Landon Tice needed to end up over here. Except when he gave away certain paths due to the fact that they got to reset the stacks, that path cut off some of these extra branches of this lattice. Simple as that. Literally as simple as that, right? 9 may or may not have been the right number. If you're going to give away this lattice, in other words, you're the superior player, you're the one with the advantage, you don't want to give away these other outcomes here at all at that time. No way. No chance. So you can remember earlier in the stream, people were putting me into the, it seems like the software is putting me in the spot here. It's giving me huge hands at first act. The issue is, we got somebody with a hand, so we're not as afraid now. Somebody's going to call in late position. We know that. That's presumable. We'll just see how a flop comes out, and let's just see how it goes. This person can... Okay. So he's got either a pair or just a pure or spades or a bluff. We can't beat any of those three. So we have to fold. Anyway, back to land. So, and you can see how this comes down to financial matters. Right? I spent a lot of time in this stream talking about how to think through this lattice and what paths are going on. Right? Your job of the hut, your 900 pounds, guess what? Your likelihood of needing medical care and incurring huge healthcare costs, you're way out here. You don't give this tail away for anything. Right? Because you need protection to get there. Landon Tice, he needed to get this tail. Why? Because in the scenario that he was down, he needed to have a way back out. He gave it away. Now, giving it away could have just been handled by lowering the handicap. Right? Meaning that if you're going to cut off the tail, that could have been okay. In other words, then if they had some estimate, then the difference was never 9. So what had ended up happening, right, is after X number of hands, only 25% of the challenge was completed. Then they did analyze the hands. And the people behind Landon Tice realized, oh, 9's too high. And oh yeah, we don't have a path here because we thought through, we're down here, we needed to get up here. We don't have a path here because even outlier situations, they're cut off. Why? Because they, every time that one person got up, reset the stack. And I'm not saying this to call Landon Tice a moron or an idiot or anything like that. By no means. If you ever see any videos that he's in, cool guy, obviously very good at poker, stuff like that. What it really tells you is that people abandon stuff that they have full command of. Right? In a hand, he has full command of what's going on. He's going to tell me to fold 7-9 here out of the small blind, right? But my point is that he abandoned his expertise when it came to this contest, this challenge, ended up costing him. This is the mistake, the financial planning mistake, which is everywhere. I'll get to my next anecdote. What are we doing here? I wonder what we're doing in the tournament. I try not to look too frequently. Yeah, we're still okay, but still a long way to go. You can see that those two hands that hurt us pretty bad. And Ace-King was called down with a pair of 7s and with a 10, with quite a board. He really had me on Broadway cards only. King, Queen. Probably had me on King, Queen. Something like that. Probably the wrong call by him, but the right outcome. Candidly. You can't call a 7s with... That would have been 4th pair. He called me with 4th pair. Out of position. So. And the problems go on and on. Right? They really do. Because if you look at this thing, what ends up happening, and this is the see, I won, I'm right. See, I won, I'm great. So on that hand, right, I had ace king on the button, stay at home dab. He had sevens, turns out, and I bet 3 times. He called 3 times with a pair of sevens. He's not on top pair. He's not on second. He's on 4th pair. Called down. And then, he could have evaluated the hand tree, right, and said, okay, why am I leading on the, but that's why people, and now you can understand the logic of why, the pros are saying, well, you would just want to lead a standard raise size, even with big hands, sometimes blah, 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 and randomizer this, randomizer that. It's basically telling you that, the fancy poker jargon that people use, is just jargon, but in other fields, other locations, other disciplines, that identical thing is going on. Now, in his defense, right, he could have analyzed and said, I never see this guy play. He never plays in tournaments. I never played with him. I think have I ever seen that name? I don't know. Maybe he had some notes. There are calculators which actually measure how frequently somebody bets. There are actual tools. And maybe he looked at the tool and then, which I don't have, that's for serious players. I don't even have one. Basically then worked backwards, and in working backwards kind of figured, well, the only thing that I led and bet this number of bets was with 2 Broadway cards. So this is why you don't see me like, being overly critical, right? 4th pair is showing a fair amount of either like absurdity or the flip side, the other tail of this possibility is, someone who very, very carefully thought through the hand. That is a possibility I have to, respect. Let's see if we can get back to Danielle here. There we go. Oof. Izilla stays alive. Gets a 10. Magic 10. Clear check. And no interest in this hand whatsoever. I want a free card here. How do I get a free card? I got lucky and hit actually I could have done doing that any case, because at 7.5 he can't go out if he doesn't have, very good hand. compared to the flop. So even if he thought I was purely telling a fib, he can't really continue. So it's. So if we go back to the topic, right, I mean, now you can understand why I have, and that's actually ultimately why I'm supporting this person, and by playing her music, you know, she gets a penny or something like that for every YouTube music view, and she doesn't have enough viewers and stuff like that, and, you know, you can imagine how difficult it is to be a musician. But in a completely unrelated field to her background, you know, when explained to her what insurance would be and what it would get at that price, which was way less than $100 a month, in a place, Arizona, where the sticker price would have been, you know, $300 a month. Well, $300 a month to a young musician on her own, you know, that is food, right? I mean, but at a much lower number now, it becomes a low-cost turn card, right? In which case, she just used her common sense. And don't get me wrong, I mean, music is a mathematically driven, you know, exercise as, you know, art, you know, if you will, right? I mean, you know, a major key and a minor key are, you know, for example, C major to E, you know, E flat. Hold on a second here. Yeah, we're still going to have to call. You know, I should probably raise here. That's what the solvers are going to say. That's what he's going to say. Yeah. No question the pros are going to say call. All right, I'm going to fold. No question the pros are going to say call this. I told you I'm bad but unlucky. So, you know, Danielle Durek, I just told her, like, look, just think of yourself, look at your cloned sister in Arizona who now gets access at that price, who decides they're going to have a child. What's the cost versus the payout? See, and this is a problem here because King 10 is, now I'm calling this one too, so I've, you know, given away a blind on the King 10 without challenging for 3.5 blinds, and now, you know, the question, and this is just inexperience for me, online, blah, 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 you know. Somebody could easily have said, I'm supposed to call. Okay, so this is interesting. So I have top pair. Did they flop two hearts? I doubt it. Right, it's not likely. You know, we're pretty close to the same stack, so we're going to have to tread a bit carefully here, but I'm going to bet with top pair. And he's got to respect the idea that I could have a heart, but he could have big heart, so I have no hearts. So you can see play has tightened notably. I'm going to do it in kind here. That's not a fold either. So I'm very sure that the experienced players that are going to be playing a tournament every single day, they're trying to get the $13,000, right? They're ripping it in. And, of course, and then that said, the follow-up is, hindsight being 20/20. So, as every non-robot has to say, you got to shake it off and have a very short memory the next time that you decide to make the decision along the same lines. And now I'm very unhappy, right? Because the chance of them having a 4 is almost 0. So they're having a superior to my King Jack is almost 0 or very, very low. Certainly worth continuing. And they get King 5, right? King 5 wins. So, in that sense, too conservative there pre-flop. No question. And I knew that in advance, right? I mean, it's one thing to say, I should have called with my 3-9 offsuit, and then, 2 3s hit the board. Okay. Yeah, it's different there. Last hand, I had King Jack. I'm supposed to at least call for sure. Do I call a big raise? Probably not. But was it probably worth the option? The price to see, the option to see what goes on here on the lattice at 1 big blind, probably worth an opportunity lost. Some people out there, I'm going to get it back next hand. I'm going to revenge bet. It's like, okay, good luck. This is a garbage hand. I'm going to fold. Just because. Why am I going to fold? Just because. All right. Here's the problem with tournaments. This takes way too long. What time is it? I've been playing for 3 hours. I've not moved. 148 people. How many people are left in this thing? 119 left. Okay. So coming closer to the point where people are going to make money or not, I'm going to go on break. What the hell is this? didn't use enough of the allotted time. So I think there's enough material for excerpts for a new video for people who are, and really the point here is not because I'm trying to build a poker following, obviously not, you know, there's some people who have like, I don't know, 100,000 views easily per video. What do they make? I think it's like 0.2 cents or something like that. 0.2 cents per view. Got to remember to turn this down. Okay, so back to the alleged action. No idea what the lobby says. And again, you'll have to forgive me that, you know, I know other streams have like snippets of the payout and stuff like that. So 5-6 of spades, clear call at the minimum, not good position. Top 64 get 323.97. I'm going to fold here. Can't continue here. So the way this works is, you know, this field's very likely to shrink pretty rapidly here as we get to the 64th position. And then we're going to see other combinations of stuff going on. We'll have to see. We'll have new terms, new poker terms, and new analogies. Almost for sure. Easy folds. expected accelerating here. So the randomness will start to definitely take hold here because, you know, we're at a critical juncture as people come close to either making money or using 4 hours of their day, getting nothing for it. We'll have to see. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to pull up this picture for you. But we're not quite there. Somebody's all in. Wins. Can't continue here. Let's see. Yeah. Just going to fire one shot at it and not much more. 7's not going to be good post-flop at all. Just big enough to get him out. Right. So let's shut this down here. Oh no, what'd I do? $14,652.04 to the winner. Lowest payout, $323.97. Those are the pay amounts, and you know, first things first. And this is what I'm saying about my inexperience here, which is that, you know, it is likely that the very experienced players are going to be looking at the value of hands and their aggression, their, you know, trying to take advantage of me, for example, the fact that I don't play, and that, you know, this kind of thing, and certainly not for 3 hours. It's like, no way. You know, so using betting patterns to try to tell stories to try to get me away from particular situations that I should normally be calling or, you know, or raising for example. So, this is a challenge for me and, every person when they're talking about, play and payouts and stuff like that. And, not surprisingly, we'll have, an analogy coming up, like pretty much right now. So I got to push out both the magician and just because. So I'm still a bit of betting. Question is, what if just because goes all in? Now, I think this is a bluff, to be candid with you, but I can't continue for my whole stack here with 10 high, even though this is a very good hand to watch the flop for sure. I'll fold. Probably didn't want to lose that hand. At this point in the tournament, every blind going to be very important. So now we're going to get to it. So, as we get to the end here, and this is always true. Nice to have a full house. Run good at exactly the right time. So the behavior of the players is going to look a lot like this, which is from financial markets. This is not, a poker thing at all. Again, back to our analogy to financial payouts, et cetera, et cetera. And poker, just, as we get to this part of the tournament where you're either going to get your entry fee, which is $215, in my case, 0, up to the $300, which is, a return on investment of 50%. What's going on here? So what'll end up happening is people have to be considering, the downside. You can see this orange line here. They're going to start to give away blinds, and then what are we going to do? What are we going to do? I have 7 high here, which is not very good. This person, very likely taking advantage, may even know who I am. It's possible. Very possible. I was considering raising on him, but I'm supposed to call there. Just wait. I'm going to wait out the storm here a bit. I'm very happy. So as I've declined, you can see it's 68 out of 102. Now I'm in the bottom third from the top third. Then we're going to start to get in the position where I'm going to have to start doing slightly better. We'll have to see how it goes. And while not an emergency, so if we take a look at this diagram here, right? I mean, this kinked line in both up and down, right? I mean, this is absolutely the kinked line of, you know, this format of the line. Okay, and again, this format of this particular line has one, here we go. Okay, you know, this can be the end of the tournament here, for sure, depending on the reaction of others. Because I am not folding this hand. So if someone raises here, they're going to get the all-in. If someone raises here, they get the all-in. It can be here. While I'm not that happy about putting your tournament life, you know, all at one spot, that probably is a good spot. I'm not actually that happy that there were no callers, or I was actually hoping that the magician would raise. That kinked line, it's got one formula. Here it is, literally. So when I'm talking about financial topics of every sort, yeah, this is a clear fold. I can't call 7 blinds, 6 extra blinds. When I'm talking about every financial topic, I am evaluating basically what is going to go on here, which has everything to do with that the hockey sticks, whether that be up or down. Either situation. So you can see the dynamics here closer to the end. The experienced players, the people with few chips are trying to push people out. Right? Very clear. Very clear. Right? 9, 10 of clubs, that got pushed out. Ace, king, unfortunately nobody called. It's this combination of randomness that I did not want to see, like at all. Right, and not coincidentally, this hockey stick diagram here, right, is in fact represented by this formula. That's it. That's it. And if you think about this formula, if you think about these hockey sticks, do you face these hockey sticks? Yeah, of course you do. Who are you if you're the orange line? You're Mr. Perfect, and all of a sudden you find out when you're 40 years old that you have a DNA marker and that you're likely to face a world of, ALS. And this is your household net worth. Okay? Your only hedge is to buy the buyer. Right? The only thing, in other words, you need to be buying an option. What's the name of an option? Insurance. Insurance is an option. And that's it, literally. Right? So how is that different here than what we are doing here on this game, where we are trying to evaluate our probability of going up this line or going down in this hockey stick faction? Why do we know this? Because when we pull these diagrams away, fold here now. What's going to happen here is that with less big blinds left, we're going to have to be a lot more selective about our position and the cards we play, because one of the big stacks is going to start pushing around. You can see it, Fluffhead pushed in against one big blind. This is somebody who doesn't want to see, just use pure aggression to try to win a big blind, a single big blind. Right? Maybe I'm going to run into ace king. Where were we? Oh, yeah, and by the way, right, this thing over here, right? Again, this ND1, ND2, sitting there on this formula, very complicated looking formula, right? Pretty complicated looking. I'm not disputing that. This is not a good time to be getting, 3-6 offsuit, by the way. Again, ND1, ND2. That's a graphical representation of ND1, ND2. Something that everyone has seen. So you can understand that somebody, medical doctor says, oh, I don't understand insurance at all. I'm like, impossible. Impossible. It has just never been correctly explained to you. You know, using this formula, this payout diagram. This person had no choice. So we're down to 15 big blinds. Not surprising. So today is not really that big a surprise to me in terms of how I would do. Right, the pattern of when I would win or lose is random. But here at the end, you know, we've not had the hands required, right, in order to go like this, right? Almost none. Ace King we had, but nobody was in to play. So as a result, you know, I could have limped and had nothing and just not bet at all, but, you know, that would have ended badly. And this is the variance of the game, right? This is, you know, when poker players say, oh, this is, you know, randomness. That's true. You know, this is telling you right? This is telling you it's random. So, you know, this is why, you know, these physics guys are like crazy people, you know, in the science world. You know, this is how particles move through space, through, you know, the air. That's how they know it. That's how they know it. This is why, you know, physicists are all over Wall Street. Why? Because they are strictly educated in the science of this random particle movement. Literally, that's it. And it's back to why poker, okay, well, you know, we've got these fancy, this fancy jargon, just, it's not taking anything away from Landon Tice, right? Matt Berkey, whoever, Doug Polk, whoever these people are, you know, they're studying basically their own versions of this. Right? They're studying their own versions of this. Not you, Danielle. Maybe there. Okay. Almost. Almost. We're going to have one more spot here. Yeah. Probably regret that one. You think? So if we think through the last 3 hours, the mistakes are pre-flop. Almost all of them. right? I didn't lose. So we're coming to the end here, right? At some point here, and it's going to be fairly soon. Get down to 10 or so, we're going to end up having to ship, big cards. But but I also know that it's just one hand to make the money. So I got to hold on to blinds pretty tight. That was probably excessively tight, though. The randomness in my favor kind of was at the wrong time. Ace, king, ace, jack, back to back. You know, with ace on the board and then jack on the board. It's not a good time to be running randomness and this just goes to show you, no matter how disciplined you are, you have to fight to basically not make the mistake on the next one. Right? But that the process should have been the same, and that was clear, 3 big blind, 20% of my amount. I have to call there. I was afraid of calling, and then some of these, up on the top over here has been, all right, so. So everybody's going to be eyeing the board, right? There's 80 people left. 330 people started. 64 paid. Multi-way all in. Okay. So you can see how close and thin this is, Fold here. Probably this orbit, we're probably going to have to let them rip in there, which I'm going to have to accept, from that point. And if we make the money, we make the money. If we don't, we're going to finish very close to the bubble. I'm going to wonder. I'm going to go to the, time depository to try to get my 4 hours back that I will never see again, which is not sure if I'm going to, okay, so. All right, this is probably it. Oops. All right, that's it for me. That's it for me. Out of the money. Little unfortunate, lost by a tick. Happens. Well, now we've got plenty of material for the channel. A little bit of a bummer. I could have waited. Certainly could have waited. 6 is probably not high up enough. I don't think there's any question about that, but that's okay.